Terran Lab Show.
The Terran Lab Show.
The Terran Lab Show.
The Terran Lab Show.
It's the Terran Lab Show.
It's the Terran Lab Show.
Where the topic of discussion is you.
So let's go.
Hello everyone, how are you? How are you? I am Terran Lamp and this is the Terran Lamp Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. In each episode, we are going to dive into the incredible stories of those making a difference in our community. We have teamed up with Chicago News Weekly to bring you the health and wellness journeys of those around us shaping our world. I am your host, Terran Lamp, and this is the Terran Lamp Show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course.
Today, we have Anthony Bartley. Anthony is a multidisciplinary artist whose work is rooted in healing, honesty, and community. A Chicago native and a Hyde Park resident, Anthony first turned to painting as a form of therapy after surviving a traumatic concussion in high school that left him temporarily paralyzed and bedridden. That experience led him down a downward spiral of insomnia, depression, and emotional isolation, ultimately bringing him to the edge of a parking garage, prepared to end his life. But instead of stepping over the edge, Anthony picked up a paintbrush. Art is Anthony's lifeline. His debut solo exhibition, Words I've Never Said, is a work of heartbreak and healing. Anthony's work has been featured in group exhibitions in Chicago, New York, California, and St. Louis. As both an artist and a community builder, Anthony continues to explore how creativity can be used not just to express, but connect, uplift, and heal. Anthony, thank you so much again for joining me. I truly appreciate it.
Of course.
Your story is very inspiring. As I was sharing with you before this, I've had a little journey of my own, so I felt like I could definitely relate to a little bit about what you were talking about. But just step back a little bit, and let's take us to what got you to this difficult place. You talk about the concussion, you talk about your situation in high school. So give us a little glimpse into what happened there and how you kind of did end up ultimately in this difficult place.
Yeah, so the concussion you mentioned is my second major concussion. So the first one was when I was 14 playing soccer. We were playing against a group of older kids, so it was U15 versus U21, and I was kicked in the head with the ball from about 2 feet away, directly to my forehead. And my mom saw me teeter, and that was kind of the first sign of something's wrong. And then at the hospital, they're like, you have a major concussion. But the second one was the one that was much worse. The first one, we didn't really see too much different, at least we thought, right?
Okay.
The second one comes in when I'm 16 and I have a teammate who runs into me forehead to temple. And knocks me clean over. And my coach, knowing my previous history, was like, you need to go to the hospital now. And the next day, I had no sense of balance and couldn't walk. And that lasted for about 2.5 months. And I'm still learning things about that kind of experience now.
Yeah, and you were in high school.
High school, yeah.
At the time. And so you were there in the hospital, going to school?
Getting work home.
Getting work home. Okay.
For what I could do.
Okay.
If I could focus on it.
And you couldn't walk?
I could walk, but it wasn't steady.
Okay.
It wasn't how I walked before,
Okay.
right? I didn't have a sense of balance and kind of had to relearn how to balance myself as I was standing and walking.
Okay.
But if I wasn't just, walking to the bathroom, everything else was in bed.
Okay.
Eating, drinking, sleeping, of course, watching TV, because that was really all I could do.
And so this was kind of like you're learning this new normal for yourself, just like that, right? And I know that must have been difficult for you because, again, you're in high school, you're 16 years old, now you're kind of bedridden, you're getting work from home, you're not seeing the things you used to see, you're not with your friends, you're not hanging out. So I can kind of take us through that journey where you're like, oh man, this is starting, like you said, the insomnia is creeping in, the depression is creeping in. You're emotionally and physically, you're isolated.
Yeah.
So take us through that do you remember in your mind like, oh, this is starting to be real, if you will?
I think the first sign of it, at least for me at the time, there's of course things in retrospect where I'm like, yeah, that was a sign, right? But at the time, I think it was the chronic migraines, and then, which were new, and when they happened, it was like, oh, I can't do anything else. Because for the most part, my only entertainment at the time was watching The Walking Dead. I think I binge watched the entirety of the series that was out at the time, but I couldn't tell you what I watched anymore.
Okay.
I have like very little memory of it other than watching it. But after like an episode, I would have a chronic migraine from the light of the TV.
Okay.
And then I would have to sleep. And that was the first sign for me at the time that was like, oh, something is like really wrong where you can't
Did your family notice it too?
My mom did.
Okay.
My mom, because I lived with her, she was the main source of support at the time. I mean, the rest of my family too, but because
Yes.
she's in the house,
Yes.
she was seeing these things firsthand and going, oh, something is really wrong here.
So we talk about not just, this is again about health and wellness, and then we talk about the physical journey which you were going through, but then this is the emotional component that really got you, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't even know how to say this, like this difficult journey, right? You went from this difficult time standing on top of a parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you even remember what you were like when you said, I can't do this, I've got to do something else, an outlet, and then art became your outlet?
I really don't, which is
Yeah.
the more I kind of try to remember what that time was like, the more it almost feels like personal myth making in a way.
Do you know why art?
No, that's
Okay.
the fun part, I think, for me as like kind of thinking back on it is
Yeah.
like, I don't know why there was a canvas in my room. I don't know why there was paint. Like, I think I had done maybe 1 or 2 paintings like the summer before college. Why I would have had it in my room freshman year when I didn't have any art classes, none of that. I just had it. So it was the thing I went to when I got back to my dorm room, and it kind of spiraled out from there as like, oh, this is a good outlet for you. But I honestly
So how
couldn't
far
tell
after
you.
your concussion did you start painting? How many, do you remember?
That concussion happened sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
So it probably wasn't until late senior year of high school that I started like
Okay.
painting, but it wasn't like a tool at the time. It was just something to do because I had an art class
Okay.
in high school because CPS, you have to take art classes. And it was like, okay, you're good at drawing, you're good at these things, but it wasn't coming from like an emotional place like it does now. It was very much a technical skill that it was like, oh, you're good at this, so you might as
Okay.
well do it.
And were you like, oh, I'm good at it?
Yeah, it was just like,
Did it surprise you? Were you like, oh, okay. So
not
then-
really,
Okay.
because I was always like sketching as a kid.
Okay.
But there was a big gap from when I was like prior to middle school to really like my senior year of high school where I just wasn't really doing art.
So did you start to realize that art was then your healing? Did you start to realize it wasn't just art? Right? It wasn't just
No,
the
not in high
painting.
school.
Okay.
Yeah, in high school it was just like you can get an A.
Okay. When did you realize, oh, this is healing?
That
This
was
is-
the night of the parking garage. That's when it was like, this
Okay.
is healing in some capacity. And then as I kept doing it, it was like, yes, this is a good tool for you to like record emotions, for you to work
Okay.
through things. But yeah, until that point, it was just kind of a skill,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nothing else to me.
It's interesting to me how that skill became your healing journey,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like it's probably interesting to you too.
Yeah, I think there's a nostalgic element to it where it's like you used to sketch a lot as a kid. I found comic books that I wrote as a kid is like recently, and it's kind of looking back on these things, and it's like, yeah, you kind of attached yourself to something that is very entrenched in your childhood, and now you're doing it as an adult, and there's a connective tissue there that I think makes it more healing. I think it's kind of the same when people discover childhood hobbies again.
Yes. So do you feel like not only did it heal you mentally, but do you even feel like from a physical standpoint that art has helped you like heal from a physical standpoint, like come out of concussion, paralyzation, emotional isolation, come out of that and kind of open you up even more physically to what's to come?
I think so. I think in like some very real senses, like not having a sense of balance and
Okay,
having
yeah.
a hard time focusing, those parts have been honed through art. Like my hands still aren't like as steady as they were like pre-concussion, but definitely like physically painting and sketching has made my hands steadier. So
Okay,
like that's a
okay.
very real
Yeah.
like
Yeah, 'cause
physical
that was my
outcome.
question, like how has it healed you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that I think it has helped with, just like being more dexterous again. But then of course emotionally, as a tool for emotional expression, but also kind of coming out of isolation, being able to share with people. I'm still terrible at sharing emotions, like verbally and things like that. Even people who know me very well have to kind of drag stuff out of me. But it's like, if you can look at a painting and kind of get it, I'm like, yeah, this is a better way for me to communicate.
Yeah. So then when you had, your solo debut exhibition, Words I've Never Said, tell me about that when you first debuted it then, right? Like, were you like, oh my goodness, I can see it up there and I can know what emotions I'm going through, but I need to describe it to some people.
Yeah, and the funniest part about that is it's funny now. It was not funny at the time.
I love it when that happens.
You mentioned like the heartbreak part of it. A lot of those paintings were for a person that has never seen most of the paintings. Things that I wish I could have said to her, things that I wish I was more knowledgeable about when we were together. And it's like, these were the things that I wish I could have said and that I never did. So there's a large portion of that show that is like for a specific person that will not receive that message. And it had to get out regardless.
So how did that feel?
It was an interesting release.
Or how'd that go over?
Oh, it went over well. I think people really related to it.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no, I see exactly where you're coming from. I've been there. I'm going through this now. So that was like a beautiful thing to see. And I think there was a nice emotional release for me that it was just out there. And it was like, if you choose to see it, you can. It's not hidden from you. But if you don't, I've said it.
And
now.
that was your first solo
Yeah, that was my
exhibition.
first solo.
So that's a big one to take under. But it also probably gave you some sense of relief, right? Some sense of emotional relief. And again, back to this healing component.
Yeah.
Right? Some sense of healing and like you said, taking you out of that emotional isolation, because here you are. This is your debut exhibition. Yeah. This is the start of a beautiful friendship with art.
Yes.
Right? So I know that must have been like overwhelming for you, especially coming from the fact that this was for someone who's never going to see it, and then also knowing what you had been through with your own, situation. So you put those two worlds together.
100%. Yeah.
And there you go. You got your debut exhibition. So over the years, you've expanded, right? You're now doing a lot more art and some community events.
Yeah.
So I want you to share a little bit more about community and how you've built community around your art through healing and connecting people.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about the tipping point where things go from personal to community driven, or at the very least, it's no longer just about you. For a long time, the art I made was private. It was just for me. It was just a tool for my expression and not meant to help anybody else. But at a certain point, it tipped over and spilled into something that other people saw, and for the first time they felt seen, right?
Yes.
And there's something beautiful about that and almost addicting in a way, where it's like, oh, I'm doing something that's twofold. It's no longer just about me.
Yeah.
It can still come from a place that is about me, but now other people can see themselves, and that's the start of the community. And that started on Instagram, where I would post something and people are like, this is me right now, or like, I'd never saw what I was going through visualized in this way. And then over time, it's like, okay, how else can I help people through art and centering art, because it's a language. And a lot of times we don't have the words or the vocabulary to properly express what we're going through. But sometimes there's that movie that you see and you're like, that's my comfort movie because it perfectly explains this. And you still can't say what that thing is, but you know it's that movie.
I like that art is a language.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. And it's, over time, it's become a language that's all my own too, where I have very specific ways of expressing this emotion through my art. Like I use like false smiles a lot in my art and that's a very specific thing of like having a fake smile.
Yeah. I was going to say, in your situation, how much of that fake smile did you actually have to carry?
Oh, I still carry it.
Yeah.
I will never say that I'm like, that art healed me. It's healing me.
Okay.
And I think it's a process that will always be happening, because I still wear that mask a lot just out of habit. Sometimes it's out of, still wanting to protect myself from whatever. It could be being scared of being vulnerable. It could be, being in a space where I don't feel comfortable. So those things are still with me. I still carry a lot of that.
And I think we all do, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is about, this is, you know, when we all carry at some level, we carry this fake smile,
Yeah.
which we all can relate to. Whether it's in our work environment, or whether it's in our home environment, or whether it's in our relationships, whatever it is, at some level, you know, we all can relate to,
Yeah.
if you will, the fake smile, right?
Yeah, and that's the fun part, I think, is it's an added layer on the top of the personal tool. It's like, now that people have joined me on this journey of art, they've become used to seeing certain symbols and certain ways of expressing in my art that they can identify as a different language now. And now the more I do it, the more entrenched people become in the worlds that I'm creating, where it's like, oh, I know what that means now. Now I can focus on something else in the painting. And what does this mean? This is new.
So
right?
you're getting deep into painting. Like, when I think of like I was sharing with you earlier that I painted, and I think I got deep into a little bit of my painting, but you're really getting into the crux of it for people and sharing like your heart on the canvas.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and other people can relate to that, I think. And I think other people who might want to do it, and like I said before, I consider you an artist, me a wannabe, you know?
Yeah.
But as far as my art goes, other things I got down pat, but art, you know, up to debate. But I think that you're really showing what art is all about. Like you said, you're showing your language. I mean, you're also showing other people that they can have their language too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I was reading this in 2025. You were awarded for a piece of your art. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a grant. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how that felt, right? Like, you came from 16 years old, bedridden, emotionally isolated, to in 2025, you are getting awarded now.
Yeah.
Like, that's a journey, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's, how did that feel? Like, wow.
It was a very validating moment, but it was also, it was a crazy full circle moment, because a full circle moment as far as community and the power of community and art, because the woman who awarded me the grant, her son, he passed tragically, and I knew him, and I didn't know that. So when she awarded me the grant, I didn't know her relation to him, like, immediately. It didn't click in my head that that's who that was, but he was one of the first people when I moved back to Chicago that kind of welcomed me into the art scene. Anytime I saw him, he was checking in with me. He was always at certain events at galleries where we would see each other, and he became a very familiar face and a very comfortable face. So it was a very full circle moment getting the grant and realizing, this is your son, or was your son. And like, we bonded over that after, and it was like, wow. So it was more towards the power of community, and it's just like, this is what it can do for you.
Again, like, healing,
Yeah.
right? And I'm imagining for her, probably a healing situation, for her to know that you knew him.
Yeah.
You know, but you didn't know that you knew him at the time
Exactly.
you were a recipient of the award, is wild, right?
Crazy.
Yeah. So how have been some other ways maybe that people, do you feel like that people are, you know, connecting with your art? I mean, I know obviously the social component, but have you had people like say to you, man, like, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and maybe share some words of encouragement for someone who might be, you know, in this difficult place, and what they, you know, what art can do for them? Because I feel like art is in your soul.
Yeah.
You know?
So actually, with the debut solo exhibition, I gave people the opportunity to respond, which is something you don't see often in galleries. People could write how they felt about a painting. When was the last time they felt that way? And it was very open-ended. When's the last time you felt this way? And it was just the visual of the painting, and people could respond with the post-it note on the wall, however they wanted. Some people wrote 4 post-it notes, linked them all together, and wrote a story out. So I think there's power in seeing other people writing that, right? Because some of the paintings had 20, 30 post-it notes from different people that you realize you're not alone in this emotion, right? So I think that was the crux of it. I kept them all.
Good.
So I have them all stored, because I think it's so cool to be able to go back and say, this is how people interpreted this differently than I intended, but also how they very genuinely connected to it. So I think that right there is the power of art, at least for me, and what art can do for people, is it opens you up to this world where you realize you're not alone. And even though the situation may look the same on paper, everybody has their own interpretation of what they're going through. but it's still not an isolating experience, or it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think that's the tough part, right? To be in that emotional isolation, and most of us feel like we are the only one.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you can get yourself just literally physically out of the space, like you said, out of the bed, literally out of the bed, to be in an area where other people are, then you realize once you start sharing, like we are with the show, that's what we were talking about earlier, like that's the kind of the, what I wanted to do with the show is just share community and health and wellness and say that we're all in this game together.
Yeah.
We're on this little thing called life, right? Together. But it's so hard to step out of that comfort zone when you're such,
Yeah, when you're deep in it,
it
just feels like you. And to a large degree, when you're that deep in it, it's your mind, right? So it's very easy to feel like you're the only one, even if you kind of logically know somebody else somewhere has to be going through it. But if you don't have contact with them and you never see something that represents that, it's always going to feel like it's just you. So art being the way to say, hey, it's not just you. I think that's enough for me to just break that isolation for people.
And I hope it's enough for other people to take the step.
Yeah.
Right. I hope and that's the thing. Like I want people to see this and hear this and say, even if they don't say it out loud, that they take a step and go somewhere and do something.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like is, like, you've done this now, and you said to me something. You said, I'm not healed, I'm healing.
Yeah.
So you're in this continuing state of healing, which we all are, by the way, and I appreciate you being honest about that. What do you think is next? What's your next phase of either art and Anthony, healing? What's next for you? Because you've got pieces out there, you've debuted now, you've got grants and awards. What's next?
I'm going to answer for both. I'm working on a series of exhibitions called Mind Games right now. And very personally speaking, it's about me connecting with my childhood again.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier how art was something I did in childhood, but I definitely hit a point recently where I was like, this has become a job, and that didn't feel good.
Okay.
Because it was no longer about the play of it. It was no longer about the connection with inner child, and that all kind of got away from me because it became about, I need to make sure I'm selling. I need to make sure that this is a sustainable career for my lifestyle and things like that. So getting back into the nostalgic aspect of it and even playing
like
more as an
it.
adult, loving it and playing.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten back into video games. Like, that was something I did as a kid, and then for years fell off of it. Just maybe once a year I would play a game for like a couple weeks at a time. But it was like, how did something that used to be an everyday thing that connected you and your friends go to something that barely looked like a hobby, right? So using this exhibition to explore that again and become a vehicle for me to play as an adult. Because I feel like a lot of us lose that.
We do.
It's very easy in the society we live in to just forget what it was like to have fun.
Yeah, forget what it was like to just be free.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, to have a child's mind.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So whether it's action figures, arcade games, toys, that's kind of what this exhibition's all about.
Anything personally, or is that the personal and the professional?
That's the personal and the professional.
Yeah, all in one.
All in one, because it definitely, the more I've worked on the pieces for this show, the deeper I've dived into what does fun look like for me as an adult. And I've started collecting Pokemon cards again. That was something I never thought I would get back into. And now it's this is a fun thing again. And it's not just about the money, because the market for Pokemon cards has exploded. And it's not about the money for me. It's no, this is a genuinely fun hobby again.
Yeah, I heard something about that too, about Pokemon cards, but I don't really know about them, but I've heard eBay or something.
Oh, there's cards that are worth thousands of dollars.
And there's these games too, right, that are the same way. So getting back into exploring your inner child is what you're going, again, full circle, right? You're going back to the young Anthony and seeing how you can combine this young Anthony with the art Anthony.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's been going well. You like it. You love it. You having some fun.
I'm having a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
Are you understanding things about yourself that you're oh?
Yes. Yeah. There's definitely games that I've looked back on and I'm there was a reason why like young Anthony was so like addicted to this game, and it's like this game has like a very emotional story or what have you, and it's like there's little pieces of myself that I'm rediscovering through like kind of just looking back on some of these games and toys and how I played with them and why, right?
Now, I don't know if you can explain this because I don't know if this is even a possibility to explain. But can you tell me how some of these things, this young Anthony, what is that looking like on canvas? Is that possible? Like,
Yes,
what I mean by
yeah.
that, by color, by what can
Yeah. So a lot of very vibrant color
Vibrant,
choices,
okay.
but it's very, the subject matter is not necessarily what I would describe as vibrant.
Yeah.
Some of it's, for instance, I have a piece called "Does the Chase Ever End?" and it's based on Pac-Man.
Okay.
I loved Pac-Man as a kid. I had an Atari.
And that's what Pac-Man is. It's a chase.
It's a chase, right? And it kind of this idea as an adult now of like running from your ghost and kind
Okay.
of what are you chasing? Because we're all chasing something in daily life, whether it's money or a better career, et cetera, as adults, but using this very childlike game of Pac-Man to kind of examine that.
Okay.
So it's merging the two
Yeah,
worlds
yeah,
and then
yeah.
trying to figure out, well, where does my childhood sit in this?
I get it.
Yeah.
I get the I actually have a shirt, Pac-Man shirt, and when I wear it, people love it. And I don't even remember when I got it, but
Yeah.
anyway, people love it. So Anthony, this is the last question, and I don't ever tell anybody about this question. So
Okay.
Just,
Go for it.
again, we're in a no judgment zone, right?
All right.
Okay. I saved these little cats in my backyard.
Okay.
Long story, but cats are very curious. So you kind of got into it a little bit. Anthony, what are you curious about?
Ooh.
Take your time.
So
It can be anything.
So I have a background in biological sciences. I have a degree in molecular biology, and I'm still very curious about experimentation.
Okay.
I think that's something that I still explore in my art practice, even though I'm not actively working on research or anything. There's always this kind of curiosity about myself. Why are you making these decisions? What are these decisions doing for other people, artistically speaking, of course? So I'm curious about myself because I feel like I go through a lot of moments where I'm like, I still don't know who I am.
Yeah.
So I would say myself as the answer to that question.
That's a fair thing. I think that's good to be curious about yourself.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for joining me. I want
Thank
you to
you.
tell people real quick where they can find
Yeah.
you because I want people to find your art.
Yeah.
And where they could come visit something if you have,
Yeah. So you can find me online at fadingroyalty.com or on Instagram at fadingroyalty. If you ever want to see my art in person, I have a lot of art in storage, and I use Connect Gallery in Hyde Park as a studio. So I'm always welcoming people to come in, hang out with me, watch me paint, sit with me, co-work. So yeah.
Co-work. I don't know if he wants me as an artist co-work, an artist assistant, but if so, maybe I'll join. Well, thank you so much again for
thank
joining
you.
me. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the Terran Lamp Show. I am your host, Terran Lamp. Again, this show is about you. This show is for you. I would love to have you as a guest on the show. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please get in contact with us. If you know someone who should be a guest on the show, I'd love to have them as well. I am your host, Terran Lamp, and this is the Terran Lamp Show. Make sure you're following as well on socials at I am Terran L on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Again, thank you so much for joining me. This is the Terran Lamp Show. Be good to yourself and each other. Thank you.